Hello again. Doing this video in response to a question I got sent the other day by Jesse, who's got a chord progression trying to learn and having difficulty getting the fingers around some of the chords, which are slash chords. Now, slash chords, just very quickly, are chords where it's written something like this. What this is telling us is to play an A minor over an E bass note. So the bit in front of the slash is the name of the chord. The bit after the slash is telling you what bass note to use. So in this case, A minor over E is telling you it's a second inversion A minor chord, because you're playing the fifth degree E in the bass. Now it doesn't always have to be the third or the fifth degree that's in the bass. It could be any note. And the particular progression which Jesse has got, just looking on the screen side here, is D5 over B flat, D5 over A, D5 over E flat, and D5 over F. So that's quite an interesting thing. Just first glance at it, it's telling me that basically we've got one chord that's being played and all the movement, all the harmonic interest is being generated by a bass note moving around, which is an interesting way to write a chord progression. Now the second bit is written as D sus over B flat, D sus over A, D sus over E flat, D sus over F. Being a bit pedantic, D sus is the same as a D5. A sus chord, a suspended chord, is a chord that doesn't have a third degree. The third degree is literally suspended. Although I do often see people writing suspended fourths or suspended seconds. I think that the sus 4 chord is written erroneously as sus. So I'm going to guess that that actually means D sus 4 is the chord there. And we'll come to that in a minute. Let's start on the first half. That D5 over B flat, D5 over A, D5 over E flat, D5 over F. Those 4 chords. Or that chord, that chord with those 4 bass notes. When you approach with a new chord progression, something that you see written down, the way to approach it is think about what you already know. And I think, well, what I already know is I already know the D5 chord. Should I play like this? So just a regular power chord shape, playing the D at the 5th fret on the A string, and the A at the 7th fret on the D string, and another D at the 7th fret on the G string. And looking at where my middle finger is, this actually works out quite nicely because I need a B flat as my bass note, so I could play the B flat here at the 6th fret on the bottom E string, and our next note I need is an A, so I can just bar these bottom 2 strings here with my index finger to give me the A in the bass note and the D power chord, D5. So I'll get those first 2 chords just like this. Now when we get to the next 2 chords, it gets a bit more awkward because I need to be playing a D5 chord over an E flat bass note and then the D5 chord over an F bass note. Now round about here where I'm playing my D chord, I don't immediately have an E flat available. Yeah, there's an E flat here at the 6th fret on the A string, but I'm already playing the 5th fret on the A string for the root of the D chord. So I'm thinking about where else I can go. Now logically I'm thinking, why not tune that bottom E string down by a semitone, so it gives me an E flat just on the open note. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to quickly detune this string by semitone. Right, so with the bottom E string tuned down a semitone to E flat, I've got that note E flat there on the open string, and it means conveniently I've got the other bass note I need, which is the F. It's going to be at the 2nd fret. And normally you'd find an F at the 1st fret, but because we've tuned the string down by a semitone, we need to go a fret higher to get the F natural. So that's at the 2nd fret. The problem we've got now though is by playing the D5 chord down here, I might have the E flat available by playing the bottom E string, but that F down at the 2nd fret is going to be a bit out of the way. So let's look at playing the D chord in a different position. Okay, so what I can do, instead of playing the D chord at the 5th fret with the root on the 5th fret of the F string, I've got a D chord here where I'm using the open D string and the A at the 2nd fret on the G string and the D at the 3rd fret on the B string. So I've got my D chord there. So I can play the open E flat to give me that bass note, and the F, like that. And I also need, for the start of the progression, the B flat and the A. I've got the B flat here, and I've got the A on the open A string. So I can play that progression like this. Right, now the next half of the progression, the next 4 chords, the way Jesse's written it down for me, is D sus over B flat, D sus over A, D sus over E flat, D sus over F. As I said before, D sus really is the same as D5, so I'm going to assume that that's some sort of typo. I'm going to make the assumption, I'm going to guess that it means D sus 4 is what it's actually meant to be, so we'll be playing same idea as before, that we're playing the same chord, in this case a D sus 4, but over a moving bass note pattern. Now the bass note pattern is the same as we played for the first half, just we're playing a different chord on the top. So we know we've got a shape that fundamentally works in terms of fingering, keeps it all around the same part on the neck, and the chord for the second half of the progression is another type of D chord, which suggests the chord we're playing for the first half of the progression is a good starting point. So we've got the D chord that we're playing using the open D string, the A on the G string, and the D on the B string. Now a D sus 4 chord has got the formula 1, 4, 5. So basically what we're going to be doing is adding a 4th degree to that D5 chord. And the 4th degree of D is G. D, E, F sharp, G, and conveniently we've got a G on the 3rd fret on the top E string. So if we play, instead of just playing those 3 strings, the 4th, 3rd and 2nd for the D5 chord, we play the top 4 strings, the fret of the top E string at the 3rd fret, we get a D sus 4 chord, which means our progression is like this. So let's play that whole progression through with the D5 chord over E flat, then over A flat, then over E flat, then over F, then the D sus 4 chord over B flat, then over A, then over E flat, and then over F. Okay, so that's my suggested way for how to play that chord progression. You might think it's a little bit of a cheat tune in the bottom E string down, but not really. There's plenty guitarists use alternative tunings for different things, particularly things like drop D, where you take the bottom E string down by a couple of semitones down to a D, gives you a bit more range. That's quite common. So really just dropping it by 1 semitone to give us the note that we need for this particular song. Yeah, that's fine. And much easier to do on a guitar with a stop tailpiece than something that's got a floating trem. Because the guitar's tuned the way that it is, the same chord can appear in lots of different ways and lots of different inversions. So that's just my initial suggestion. But if you dig around with your fingerboard map and work out where the notes of the chords are, and this is why it's important when you're learning music to learn what notes are in what chords, so you can find different ways of fingering them on the neck, so you don't always get stuck just with the same box. But if you look around the neck, you'll find different places where you can play that D chord, and you find other ways of of fingering that progression. So this is just my initial suggestion. So Jesse, hope you found that useful. Let me know how you get on with that, and see you all in another video sometime soon. Bye for now.